Hey, I'm Brian Nash from How We Got Here Genealogy, and welcome to my live stream. Doing something a little different today. I will take your questions and comments, of course, in the chat if you have them. But I'm going to be discussing a topic. That topic is are genealogists historians? Something near and dear to me, and something I definitely have opinions on. If you're watching this in the replay afterwards, I'd love to hear from you. Comment on your thoughts. Comment now if you want, when you're watching this, to tell me what you think, and if you don't agree with me, did I persuade you? Anyways, you'll notice the little things a little different. I redid my office a few years ago, when a year and a half ago, and I had actually set some stuff up for doing my YouTube videos, but it didn't work out being able to film it the way I want it. So I'd sort of been doing some makeshift things from my desk. So this is more how I originally intended. I actually do have a little more of the office where I can flip around. I have a green screen as well, so that's kind of easy. So I'm trying this. First of all, let me know if you, this is on a new machine that I'm doing. Let me know if my picture's fine, if my audio is fine as well, because I can always go back to my normal settings. Anyways, yeah, so I just wanted to welcome you here today, and we're going to talk about whether or not genealogists should be considered to be historians. So feel free to comment in the chat. I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions about this topic or about genealogy in general. I'm always there to answer, and stick around to the end to where I have my, since this is the Genealogy Happy Hour, where I have my last call for questions. So if there's anything you've been holding off on to ask. In this video, as in all of my videos that I put on YouTube, you'll see there should be a section that if you have a question, there's a form to fill out that goes to a Google form. It gives me a little more detailed if you have some more detailed information you want to share, or a topic you'd like to see me tackle in a video in the future, or a live stream. So check for that. It's in the it's in the description of this video, and like I said, all my videos. So let's discuss this topic. First of all, I've been running a little poll on this particular issue, and last I checked, I think I had, out of the people that voted, 77% of them had agreed that genealogists are historians, which is what I fundamentally believe. I also believe they're a lot more than just being historians. So let's just tackle this. I'm going to bring up a little presentation I have here on our genealogist historians. So, so the first thing we should know is we should really know what we're talking about. So this is the definition from Wikitree, and I have this here. I'm going to bring this up actually on my own page. Yeah, I apologize. Sorry, this is the definition from Wikipedia. I apologize if you noticed this. I'm bouncing. That's just the way I have to set up my video for this new location. I have to do a makeshift desk, and I was fixing it today, but it didn't tighten up as much as I would like to. So yeah, I apologize. And of course, this is not my computer where I prepare everything on, so I'm not as prepared as I should be. So first of all, let's see what a historian is. Wikipedia defines a historian as a person who studies and writes about the past and is regarded as an authority on it. Historians are concerned with the continuous methodological narrative and research of past events as relating to human race, as well as the study of all history and time. Some historians are recognized by publications or training, and this I found interesting. Historians became a professional occupation in the late 19th century as research universities were emerging in Germany and elsewhere. I kind of disagree with that. I believe that historians have been around a lot longer than that. There we go. We have first opinion already. So yeah, in your undergrad thesis for your history degree, you wrote that one of your ancestors. It was about one of your ancestors. Great way to use all the sources. I pile up over the last decade or so, and learn more about the social history and historical context of life beyond vital records. That is very true. As you'll notice, one of the things in this definition, and actually I'm going to look at the Merriam-Webster definition. I really like this one as well. It says a historian is a student or writer of history, a student or writer of history, especially one who produces a scholarly synthesis, or a writer or a compiler of a chronicle. I really think I like that, writer or compiler of a chronicle, because that's what historians do, and that's what genealogists do. So I also, when I was looking at this, I found interesting there's some definition about legally what is a historian. So if they're talking about history in a court case, there was a court case that Penguin Books and Liptall trial, and the court cited Richard Evans' witness report, which mentioned objective historian, and I kind of like that, objective historian, in the same way as a reasonable person. So historians are reasonable, which is very true. So their legal definition, he summarized basically it in the article in the Yale Journal, the Yale Law Journal, sort of said that in a summary that a historian can be defined by these 7 things, specifically an objective historian, as they're talking about. Number 1, now this is where I wish I had my larger screen, because I do have to do this on a laptop, so it's not as nice for me when I'm looking at everything here. So I'm with my streaming software, it makes the page kind of small that I'm reading. So I'm just going to do something else here, and hopefully it won't take me long. I apologize. So it said that a historian must do these 7 things. First one is treat sources with appropriate reservations, not dismiss counter evidence without scholarly consideration, be even-handed in treatment of evidence, and eschew cherry picking. Clearly indicate omitting parts of documents, and weigh the authenticity of all accounts, not merely those that contradict their favorite view, and take the motives of historical actors into consideration. So I kind of summarized these in my own way. I said, basically, number one, is you need to be a skeptic. And that's really important for genealogists when they're looking at other people's records. And you have to take things with a grain of salt. You got to treat the sources with appropriate reservations. So, for instance, you don't necessarily adapt somebody else's family tree that they've researched unless you're actually able to observe and see the sources that they're using and confirm that they're legitimate. Often I've found when helping people with their family trees, when they're looking at some of these sites, or I've been doing research on my own family tree, looking at some of these sites when I'm searching for documents, because family search is a great resource when you're looking for documents, but don't take the another person's family tree as a legitimate, valid source, because often I found where you have grandparents that are younger than their grandchildren, or they're just there's completely no evidence to prove that that person belongs to that family. So yeah, you need to be a little skeptical, and you need to consider all things. This is really important, and I've run into issue myself. When I've considered all things, but also didn't consider that even though evidence was pointing one way, it could be wrong. So, and sometimes you need to make sure you're not dismissing counter evidence. I'm going to give you a really good example. A second great granduncle, I had known where he was born. He was born in Scotland in 1821, and I knew where he lived. And I found a record for a person in the same general area, same name, born in 1821, approximately, which fit in with this second great granduncle. I was pretty sure it was the same person, but I could not connect them to my second great grandfather, who I was trying to, and I exactly, but I was pretty confident it was this one person. Got into doing some research later, and because of Wikitree, a person that was doing family history on a similar area was able to point out to me, no, that this person who lived there, because they had further records on their life, was a bachelor, so there was no descendants, which I had children coming from them. So it was the wrong person. They had the records that were right. I had speculation based on evidence, but I hadn't really dug into too much more evidence other than finding was from a death record of this person that I was getting, and that they lived in that community. So you kind of sorry, on to number 2 here. So you really need to, consider all things. Number 3 is no cherry pick, and that's what sometimes you're often to do. And I've seen on family trees, this is why you just can't pick what suits your what you want to find. Just because you find a person with the name and the age, you really, like in the case I had, you need to examine all the evidence, and don't just settle on that one thing, or picking this one because, well, this record works for him, but these other records that don't. Don't speculate. And there is a certain bit of that. There's a certain bit of speculation you always have to do, though, by don't speculate. To me, as a family historian, genealogist, how I apply this role of the historian is the that I and it also says about clearly indicating I like if I do speculate, because there are times you don't know and you're making these choices, make sure you're noting that, putting it in a research note, putting in your research note why you're speculating on this particular fact. Now include all. So don't mistranslate documents or mislead by omitting parts of documents. That's really that goes into a little bit with the cherry picking. Make sure that when you're including information, for instance, if you're going to use a census record, you have to take into account the whole family. So, and take into account that record that you're putting in there, because you need to really examine and get an idea whether that is correct, or there might be other family members that come from that family tree that maybe you're trying not to associate with because of something. It's all part of the history. You got to make sure that's included. No favorites. Yeah, again, this is the same thing. You need to weigh the authenticity of all accounts, and not merely those that contradict our favorite view. So we just need to make sure we are taking into account all the information and not omitting stuff, because we just don't want to talk about that part of our family history. For instance, if you were to find out your family was involved in the slave trade, you probably would want to indicate that. Well, you might not be proud of that. It's something you need to not hide. Motives, and you need to take in the motives of historical actors in the consideration that you're placing these people in at a particular time, particular series of events that were happening at that time. And you need to take that into consideration when you're making judgments or you're writing narratives about your family history. Again, yeah, family historians really what I choose to call myself. I'm a genealogist in the sense that I'm a person who studies the knowledge of families. That's what genealogy means, and basically the knowledge of your genes, your family, where you come from. But I consider myself more a family historian. And it's the term I prefer to call myself, and others who do genealogical research. So going back to the Merriam-Webster definition of historian, it's a writer or compiler of a chronicle. As family historians, the chronicle that we are compiling is that of a particular family or a group of families. But we're also more. Sometimes we're local historians, because often we become experts in particular communities that our ancestors were a part of, and because we also call this specialized historians, because this is really could be events or could be certain groups of people or certain aspects. For instance, you could become an expert in understanding a certain type of church record. It could be. I have a friend who's written books and been a guest on my podcast, Brian McConnell, because of his relatives. He's become, in his research, he's become a little bit of an expert on the history of the Orange Lodge in Canada, because of his own genealogical research has led him into this. So you have that there, or often you might become sort of an expert on a particular, if you have a relative who was part of a particular regiment or battalion or what in during World War II, or a particular profession, you might become experts on that. I've learned a lot about coal mining that I didn't know about before because digging into my family history. So my feeling is yes, genealogists are historians, but I want to say there's a bigger point, because family history is actually one of the most accessible types of history for people that we can study. And it's my belief that when you get interested in your own family history, it makes history personal, which makes you want to investigate more history as you get interested in the people, places, and events of their ancestors. It's I liked what Evan had said earlier. That you learn more about the social history and historical context of a person's life beyond just the vital records. Often we start digging into those things because you become interested. I found one of the things I find fascinating is I was looking for some information in a newspaper compilation of newspapers of where my grandparents were from. Nova Scotia Vital Statistics and Nova Scotia Archives recently put about a year and a half's worth of this particular newspaper and from their community online. So I was reading through it because I was wanting to see if I could find things about my ancestors, but I also found so many things about the community just from reading those newspapers. A lot of little interesting anecdotes, little things that were going on. I laughed because there was a little article, though it's not their region, Nova Scotia. It was about this boy from Spring Hill that had been missing for 2 days just because he left home to take a walk. He was trying to walk New Brunswick because he wanted to see it. He'd never seen it before. And he returned. It wasn't a big story about a missing person. It was just this little tiny anecdote that, he went away on Friday. He came back on Tuesday just because he was wanting to see New Brunswick. Just something small and something really kind of minute, but I got interested in just all kinds of things in reading that paper and learning about the community that they lived in and other areas of Nova Scotia as well in general. So that's sort of my argument on why I consider genealogists to be historians. And I think it's very actively and rightfully so. I'd love to hear you guys' opinion that are there in chat. Let me know what you're thinking. Or if you have any other questions, we can always go to my last call. And let's see if this works for me. I'm trying this on the new computer, so like I said, so let's see. Trying to get some things here. So yeah, so let's ring the bell. Let's get the last call.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I need to announce it's last call at the bar.
Oh. So, last call. This is a chance for you to ask any questions you might have. Again, if you're watching on replay, leave in the comments what you think. Are genealogists historians? What type of things have you discovered about history from doing your own family research? Okay, seeing as there's no questions there coming up right now, I'm going to say goodbye. You have a great day. And as always, keep searching for your ancestors. And if you do have a question, remember to look on any of my videos. You'll see a link that you can ask your question. So, or if there's a topic you would like me to discuss in a future video, let me know. And so it's time to say goodbye.
Things change, farewell. Farewell, my friend, things change. Farewell, my friend. Farewells, they're not forever. They mean I'll miss you till we meet again. Things change. Farewell, farewell, my friend. Things change. Farewell.